Hello, I'm Patricia Valencia, host for today's show. I'm here with Robert Palacios, City Council District 4 candidate. How are you doing, Robert? Welcome back.
Yes, thanks for having me. Everything's going good.
Yeah, like I was going to ask you, how is your campaign going? What is going on?
It's keeping me busy. This week we had Celebrating Democracy, the launch of early voting, and an event over at County Hall, the county building. And it went really well. Got to connect with some high school students, and it was really great seeing the community turn out, and a sample ballot got mailed, I guess, with their utility bill. And so they had their ballots, they were ready to learn. They go, what do I need to do? Because it's a lot to take in. And it's educating yourself on the ranked choice voting. And with the mayoral candidates, it's a whole page of all 10 candidates that you got to figure out.
It's a little bit overwhelming.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
So with the campaign, what has been the most gratifying part of it for you?
So for me, not only doing events, connecting with the community, but being able to connect with the community on a one-on-one basis, you know, door knocking and really seeing what the issues are in District 4, whether it's traffic, whether it's education, whether it's building jobs, to name a few. It's being able to have that interaction with the community on a one-on-one.
Now, you know, there's, of course, other candidates that are trying to run for the job as well. Mm-hmm. Now, what makes you stick out from your opponents?
So I'm everywhere. I'm already treating this like a full-time job. I'm out there, like I said, at every event I could go to, whether it's my district or a community thing. This weekend I'm going to be doing the Tas No Mas community cleanup. And so it's getting out there, and the community has to see you, you know, and I really do believe that's where I stand out, is I'm in this 100%, and I hope to the community it reflects that way.
I see you out everywhere doing everything that you can do. Like we talked about earlier in the other episodes, you're very active in the community and very involved in every aspect of your campaign. So.
And it's what I enjoy to do, and that's why I decided to get involved, because I said, hey, I'm already out there connecting with the people and hearing all these issues, and it's always about educating the voter and educating the community on what the issues are, and you know, having the most knowledge. An example is Valley Drive. I'm at all those meetings, and when somebody has a question, I'm able to most likely answer it. Yeah.
And you're talking about educating people. Speaking of education, we haven't talked about that. Let's go ahead and discuss education here in Las Cruces. Now, what does education mean to you? What does it mean to Robert?
So all around, we're surrounded by education. With this new ranked choice voting, the voters have to educate themselves. Us as candidates, when we're door knocking, we have to educate the voters. And then we look at education as far as from grade school all the way up to high school and beyond. Education should never stop happening. You have to continue your growth. So there's a lot of opportunity in our community, and a lot of different ways to be creative and to help grow education.
Now, speaking of being active, talking about education, you just recently participated in Walk to School Days.
Yes.
I saw some pictures, actually. That was really nice. And tell us about that experience.
Yeah, so the first one I did was outside my district, but it was Alameda Elementary, and that's actually one of the elementary schools that I attended. And so nice. I saw it on the schedule, and I said, well, that's what the first one I'm going to do. So I went and walked to school with the kiddos from over there off Parker. We walked about a couple blocks to Alameda, and that was nice. You start seeing different things about our community, and something I noticed from that walk is there's sidewalks all the way. It's paved, it's safe for the kids. They have a nice, safe route to get through. Now, the second walk I did was with MacArthur Elementary, which is in my district, and we didn't have that luxury. We met at the park off of Hadley, behind Save Mart, and we had sidewalk for a majority of that, but then down Hadley on the east side of Valley, there's a little bit lacking of sidewalk and of access, as well as some areas where the sidewalks buckled, so if you were in a wheelchair or had more difficulty, it creates some difficulties in getting across those areas. as well as just construction signs sitting on top of sidewalks instead of over on the road. So I'm glad that I got to participate, because of course hanging out with the kiddos and learning from them, like, hey, do you know what a city councilor is? No. How about mayor? Oh yeah, the mayor. I go, okay, well, I get to work with the mayor if I get elected. And so it was fun hanging out with the kids.
I was just about to ask you, did the kids have any interesting questions for you, knowing that you're, city council? What did you tell them when they ask what that means?
Yeah, so everybody knows who the mayor of a city is, Do you know what the mayor does? Oh yeah, the mayor. And I go, okay, well, I get to work alongside the mayor. So they thought that was really cool.
Kids. Now, speaking of our kids here in our community, now, do you think that education is lacking here in Las Cruces?
So New Mexico is at the bottom of the bottom in the ranking for education. K through 12, we are in dead last. In higher education, we rank about 20, I believe it is. And so there's definitely room to grow. K through 12 education is highly influenced by what happens in Santa Fe. What can we do here in Las Cruces? Well, you got to educate yourself. We have several school board positions up, so you have to find out who those candidates are and make sure you're voting for your school board, because it starts there. Your superintendent, your school board, they influence our local classroom, and then up in Santa Fe, we have to work with them, because we're just coming out of the A through F grading system, and Michelle Lujan Grisham is implementing a new standardized test, but it's figuring out what that is and figuring out how we can teach in a classroom and not have to just teach to a test.
Now, why do you think education is so important to our jobs here in Las Cruces?
It's very important, but it's important to the fact that, say a student goes to New Mexico State University, they have that piece of paper, bachelor's degree, a master's, doctorate, whatever it is, and they're out in the workforce, and then they go, wait, my opportunity isn't here in Las Cruces. So going back to what we were talking about last week is economic development, is creating jobs and figuring out what our resources are in Las Cruces, so that when we are educating the next generation, that they're coming out and they're ready to go in the workforce, and that's here in Las Cruces if they so choose. But not having to move out, that's something I hear while I'm door knocking. We have a good retirement community, and a lot of locals. I'm a fourth generation Las Cruces, and there's a lot of families here that are from Las Cruces, and they go, well, yeah, my son, my daughter, my granddaughter, my grandson, they had to move because they graduated, and there just wasn't work here for them. So that's what education is in our community. Not only bringing up our rankings overall nationwide, but looking at Las Cruces and seeing how education and the workforce can work together.
Now, speaking of education, how can we in District 4, and speaking in terms of District 4, as far as education, what could we do there with District 4 in terms of education?
Yeah. In District 4, as far as public education, we have MacArthur Elementary, Picacho Middle School, and Mayfield High School. So that's our alma mater for District 4.
Those are my schools, actually.
Yeah. And so those are the ones that are directly reflected. But as far as growing education in District 4, we take a look at Industrial Park. What if we could bring technical schools to Industrial Park, whether it's manufacturing, it's HVAC, plumbing, electrical. There's a large area out there to work with. Provide incentives and bring in a technical school, 2 technical schools out there. They start creating jobs for industries. So then you have a bigger student base to support those industries. And then when you're working with Movida, you have something you're saying, look, we have technical schools right here to feed your workforce, and they work side by side. We can start an aviation school, we have the airport right there. So many ideas and so many things that we can advocate for and work towards as a city council. And every January they have Las Cruces Day in Santa Fe. The community gets to go up there and say, hey, there's something south of Albuquerque, we're down here, Las Cruces, hi. And that's an opportunity to promote those programs and say, hey, how can we get some funding for this?
Now, what education opportunities do we currently have in Las Cruces?
In Las Cruces, we have our public schools. We have some really great charter schools. I'm always saying that, you know, four-year college isn't the fit-all answer. But as far as public schools, you know, LCPS isn't always the cookie-cutter answer for every student. And myself growing up, I was in the gifted programs. I was bored in class, and it was seen as having a problem, ADHD. Oh, he just has ADHD. Let's, you know, he's a problem child. But actually, there's a lot of gifted students in our community, and they need the opportunity to not just sit in a regular classroom, but to be challenged and to move forward a little bit faster through materials. And charter schools can offer that. Smaller class sizes. So we have public schools, we have charter schools, and then we have DACC, the branch, and New Mexico State University. But like I said, if you're looking at technical schools, I know there's some private companies that do electrical programs, but building on those the trades.
So definitely ways to branch out with education here in Las Cruces. There's a lot of good ideas that you have, I think. Now you also serve on the school board. Tell us a little about that.
So yeah, talking about charter schools, I'm on the governing council, which is the equivalent of a school board for La Academia Dolores Huerta. And they're able to, they're the only bilingual charter middle school in our area. And so they're able to cater to students that Spanish is their first language, and then students where English is their first language, they're in dual language classes where they're able to learn Spanish. But also to offer cultural classes like ballet folclórico, mariachi, conjunto. And so there's other schools in the area too, Alma de Arte, New America High School, what else do we have? Las Montañas. Now there's a elementary school, Raíces, that joined our community. But yeah, the governing council, they put policies together for the charter school. And it's been a really good experience for me looking at city council. We spoke briefly about it, but what does a city councilor do? So the city council and the mayor are in charge of the city manager. The city manager runs a majority of the things, the daily operations, you know. And so we hold the city manager accountable. Well, with the school board and the experience I've been able to receive from that is we hire and fire the head administrator, and then the head administrator takes care of all her staff and the teachers and everything. And so it's a very good model of actually what I'm going to be doing in city council.
Well, when we come back, we're going to be talking to Robert more about some education, also some more about District 4, of course. Once again, we're watching the Candidates Forum. We're talking to Robert Palacios. He is a City Council District 4 candidate. We'll be right back after this.
So great, you can do all these different gears in the plan.
Okay.
Nice.
Wait. Guys, not all.
Horizon Granite is here. We'll come to you to customize your kitchen and bathroom with beautiful countertops and cabinets. Find out more at horizongranite.com. Call us at 575-650-3180.
Horizon Granite is here.
It's here.
Make yourself a beautiful home.
Hi, I'm Ray Bamberg with Here on Earth. I would like to invite you for a free hearing evaluation to our office. We've been here in southern New Mexico for 34 years helping people hear better.
And we're back on the Candidates Forum today, once again, talking with Robert Palacios, candidate for City Council District 4. And we left off, we were talking about education. Of course, you were talking about multicultural, how to get more of that into our education. I know you're big on music, you're big on the arts. How would we expand and make that and put that into our education?
So we could do it by a few different ways. You can reach to each school depending on what level, elementary, middle school, or high school you want to incorporate it in, and do it that way. Or you can do it in a bigger vision and present something to the school board. But I think either way, we can really expand our cultural arts programs in our community. And a lot of times, and it's what I'm running my campaign on, is it's sitting at a table and saying, hey, how can we do this? Because a lot of people, they spin their gears, you know, trying to figure out how to launch a new nonprofit or how to expand their business or how to, and what I've learned through my experiences and being involved with the Chamber of Commerce, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and the Greater Las Cruces Chamber of Commerce, is it's networking and it's making those connections. And last week we were talking about what is good business for the city, and it's making sure, like I said, we're not doubling our resources. So when you we're doubling our not resources, but our services, doubling of services, because then we're cutting resources. Two people are trying to do the same thing, and if we're doing it at the city level and nonprofits doing it as well, then we're cutting our resources in half. So through networking, you get an idea of what other people's ideas are in the community, what they're wanting to do, how they want to improve Las Cruces. And then that's how you can get those cultural arts in our school system, is either talking to a principal, talking to the music educators that already have programs going, or the dance teachers or PE, and saying, hey, how can we integrate this into your program that already exists, but we can add to it, you know, add value.
You know, speaking of our youth, I see your campaign signs all over, and on the top it says, building the next generation. Now, what does that mean to you? What is the whole slogan behind that? Yeah,
so building the next generation, I consider myself as part of the next generation. And so I'm heeding the call of becoming more involved in becoming the District 4's next city councilman. And I'm calling for my generation and wanting to set an example for the next one and the next one, to say, hey, you have a voice. You can make a difference in our community. And it doesn't matter your background or where you come from. If you have the drive and you have the mindset to make an improvement, or to, whether it's open your own business, whether it's to become you know, a public servant and get into public office, whether it's to become a teacher, you set your path. But in Las Cruces, we have to let them know that that's possible, you know, that just because you have a vision or a dream and that's not in Las Cruces now, make it happen. You be the person that starts that. And so the next generation is coming up, and we're gonna, you know, I'm here to support you at the smallest level.
Now, you know, talking about education today, now what does education have to do with this election?
So education starts with the voters educating themselves on who's running. Like I said, we were at Celebrating Democracy this week, and it was great seeing community members come out and they say, okay, I have this ballot, there's 10 names there and a bunch of bubbles, what do I do? And then it's about the candidates educating themselves about the issues, and that happens by me going out and door knocking and having conversations and being at meetings and being at you know, city council meetings. There's a learning curve from going to a community member and to serving on city council or becoming the mayor. You know, we can't have every idea of what we're going to encounter until we're actually in those positions. But we can offset that by going to city council meetings. I've not only been to city council meetings, but I've been to several district meetings that the councilmen hold specifically in their district. I go to project meetings. I go to public input meetings. And so as a candidate, working full-time and educating myself on those things, that's where it goes. And then it's just a full circle, you know, from when you started in grade school, how those teachers influenced you, to moving up to middle school and high school. High school is its own beast because, you know, you have all these emotions and feelings, and, you know, you're a rebel. And then you have to decide if you're going to go to a 4-year college or if you're going to go a different route.
Now, speaking of that, how did that work out for you? Did you always know what you wanted to go to college for?
Yeah, so going down the path, you know, let's start in elementary. I want to be a firefighter, and then, you know, seeing my dad is a retired Las Cruces Police Department policeman with them. And so I'm like, oh, I want to be a policeman like my dad. And then in middle school, I thought I was going to be a photographer. And then in high school, I said, oh, I want to do mechanical engineering. And it's just going through those steps and seeing the transitions. Finally, towards the end, you know, and I think it might have been in middle school, I said, I'm not going to college. What do I need this for? You know, the thinking of adolescence. And then finally, my senior year, I with the music background, and I had started in radio at the time, you know, I'm like, oh, this is cool, doing sound engineering and working with microphones and music consoles and mixing things. So I found a 1-year school, trade school for sound engineering. And that was my path until I came back and did my internship, and the economy was still really bad in 2009. And I said, growing up for our generation, it was always 4-year degree, go to college, get your degree. Just get your degree. And so that was still in the back of my mind at the time, and the economy wasn't that great. So I said, okay, let me jump into college and see what it's like. But I really liked going to the Conservatory of Recording Arts. It was a small class size. It was very specific to what I was doing. You're not taking the English classes, math, science, all your prereqs and the general ed classes that you have to take. You're focusing intensively on the subject that matters to you, you know, and so that was really neat, and that's what differed from a 4-year college. But through my background, I don't regret, you know, going to a 4-year college, and also, you know, furthering my education. It's funny how everything circled around music, communication, because I was a 25 uniform in the military, and that's a signal support system specialist. And so I was, they call us commo. We were the radio guys, you know.
So it's always been something that you've always held with you.
Yes.
Now, you know, speaking about education and the ranked choice voting,
Mm-hmm.
For somebody that has no idea what that is, how it works, can you explain just like in layman's terms, you know, a gist of it and what it's all about?
Yeah. Let's use candidate 1, 2, and 3. You're going to see 3 names on the ballot for District 4. I'm in the 2nd position. And so you have to decide, who is my number 1 choice? And I would like to be your number 1 choice, you know? So you would mark your number 1 choice. And then you go, okay, who's next? Who, maybe I've seen their stuff, I understand the issues that they are working on, and they're my number 2 choice. And this person, I haven't seen that much or don't know much about them, I'll rank them number 3. But you want to rank all the way through, because you're using your vote to its fullest potential. If I just rank my first choice, then if that person is actually in the bottom and the top person doesn't have 50% of the vote plus 1 vote, then they haven't won yet. So if you just rank one person and your first choice gets eliminated, the power of your vote stops there. And so you want to rank down the line as far as you're comfortable with ranking. If you, like an example for mayoral candidate, if you can rank 1 through 10, great. If you're, your 1, 2, and 3 get knocked out, then your vote's still working. You know, you're at your 4 choice. And so if you have any questions, of course, my website is www.rob4lc.com. rob4lc.com, And you can contact me there. Of course, I've already had some people reach out to me and say, hey, you know, I see your signs everywhere. What are the issues that stand out to you in our community, and what do you stand for, basically? So of course, go ahead to my website if you have any questions. The city has a lot of material out. The county's doing education programs across the county across Las Cruces, because of course ranked choice is specific to Las Cruces. You're not going to see it in the county. It's not going to be on your school board ballot. But yeah.
Well, you know, we have a couple minutes left, and I'm going to leave you the floor now to tell us, you know, some of the differences that you want to make in District 4, and just your thoughts on your campaign so far as a whole.
Yeah, so I just want to let you know that I'm available. I make myself available throughout the week. Head over to my website, give me a call, and let's get together, because when you're able to educate yourself on the issues and what I stand for and my values and my background, that's where you're able to make the best educated vote when you go into the polls. And of course, early voting has already started, so reach out to me sooner than later. I'd love to grab a cup of coffee and talk about Las Cruces, because it's something I'm passionate about, and any chance I have to talk about Las Cruces, it's a good conversation over coffee.
Well, it was great talking to you again, Robert. Thank you so much.
Yeah, definitely.
And thank you for joining us today on the Candidates Forum, and we'll talk next time. Of course, thank you once again to Robert Palacios, City Council District 4 candidate. I'm Patricia Valencia.
I'm Robert Palacios, and I approve this message. Carissa Avila, Treasurer.